Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America on the Blue Funk Broadcasting Radio Network. Great to have you with us on the program today. Back with us on the show, as I mentioned, Travis Waters, a youth counselor who went from star high school basketball player with hopes of a college scholarship to ranking associate for one of the most dangerous drug cartels in North America. And almost overnight, after several years in prison, he rebuilt his life dedicated to protecting young people from the consequences of involvement with illicit substances, talking to kids all around the country. And he's back with us on the program. He's the author of the book, The Westcoast Kid, My Redemption. Travis, welcome back to the program. Great to have you with us.
Yes, thanks for having me, Rick. I appreciate that.
Actually, if you want to listen to part one of the program, it's available at Travis's website, among other places, thewestcoastkid.com. Let's go back and just briefly recap where you got, where you were, and then we'll pick up the story and talk about all the exciting things that are going on in your life right now. You actually were exposed to working with these gangs and dealing in drugs at a very early age. You were very young when you started.
Are you referring to the prison gangs or the smuggling gangs?
No, let's talk about smuggling. And you were very young and actually helped work on some of the boats at an early age.
At 14 years old, loads would come in about a mile and a half, 2 miles from my house. We lived down by the ocean in the Gulf of Mexico. And my first boats that I cleaned was a 20,000-pound load that came in just before dawn, and that's how I got experience in the marijuana, cleaning the boats, bleaching the boats, washing the boats, because they had that no tolerance, one seed, and there's no zero tolerance. If they catch a seed on your boat, they'll confiscate your boat, and you can be charged for having one seed of marijuana on your boat. And we did a lot of cleaning the boats for the smugglers. When I was 14 years old, I started getting experience with that.
I mentioned you moved up the ladder very rapidly, and you talk in the book about it was a rapid ascent, but it was a lot of fun. You were hooked at an early age, and you're trying to balance that while you're in high school with this possibility of the sports scholarship and playing basketball. We mentioned your big rival there was Deion Sanders.
Yeah, he was my rival. Like I said, I never had any intentions. From the get-go, my intentions were never to never do that and go to prison and get involved with it. My intentions was going to scholarships, going to the University of North Carolina, and I wanted to play pro ball one day. That was my goal. That's that was all my dreams. Did I know that I could make it in the pros? No, I didn't know all that, but that was what I was striving for: college and then go to pros.
And then along came summer school. Was that at the point where you basically gave up on that and turned more than you obviously should have to working with the smugglers?
Yes, 1985, they just passed the law. No matter what your grades were, apparently, if you missed so many days of school, you'd have to go to summer school and make up those days. And I wasn't going to go to summer school. Mother came down to the boat marina where I was at to go on the boat with my friends that day and told me school called. I missed 2 days to graduate, and I wasn't going to get my scholarships. And I said, screw it. I'm going to have money one way or the other. And to this day, I'm thinking who I'm going to get back. I'm going to get them back as revenge and to have money. And I still don't know who they are, but I took that one wrong choice and started dealing small amounts of drugs, cocaine and pot, a little bit here and there. And then I wanted more, and then started taking up north, and then I started smuggling.
Well, and you talk about money. It came, and there was a time you're talking about, what was it? One night you made like $50,000. I mean, the money was very abundant.
18 going on 19 or 19. I can't really remember the exactly, but yeah, the first night I did it, I did one load, a 10,000-pound load. I made $50,000. They gave me some of the pot off the load, and then plus they gave me cash off the load for one night's work because I knew the area and I grew up in that area, so I got the loads in the shore for the Miami gang, Cubans over there, and I got the load in the shore, and they thanked me and gave me extra pot and gave me more money, and that's how I got hooked up with them. Like a couple weeks later, they called me saying, "Hey, I want you to meet the part of the owner of the load. They want to thank you for getting their load in the shore. If it wasn't for you, the sun would have came up and the airplanes would have saw the boat stuck in the mangroves, and they'd have busted that load."
Well, you talk your fast cars, fast women, quick money, big money, but you're dealing with the Cubans, you're dealing with the Colombians. Let's talk briefly, and then we'll pick up where your life is now. But let's talk about what it was like when it's not all like this is really a great life. I mean, there's a scene in the book. The book is The Westcoast Kid, My Redemption by Travis Waters, our guest on This Week in America. His website is thewestcoastkid.com, where you've actually got somebody else that's going to go out and start your truck because you're afraid this whole thing could blow up. I mean, you were living in sort of like, this is a great life, I've got a lot of money, but there was another side to it as well.
The stressful side of the dark side of it.
Yes.
Was, for me, at that young age, and learning all this as I go, and dealing with all this possibilities of beating up, getting killed, whatever it may be. That load was ripped off. Basically, from the feds were involved with it, and the cartel, or the Cubans were involved with the informants, and they actually stole that load. We found out later, but we were responsible for that load. Going back to the restaurant where we met with the Cubans and took the captains over there to meet them, is when they took my truck, and then they come back about 20 minutes later with my truck, and I wasn't going to go out there and start that truck because I thought they put a bomb in it, because we were talking $15-18 million worth of marijuana that's messing, and me and my partner are responsible for it. So I wouldn't do that. And come out, find out later on why they took the truck was they were looking for recording devices and taking the bullets out of the captain's guns, so that in case they were going to hurt these captains, they couldn't shoot back at them.
We talked last time about being in the airplane and the phone call from Pablo Escabar, and if I recall right, you didn't even quite know who this guy was, but this is like the major domo, and he's calling you, and you're in an airplane, and at that point, I'm thinking, well, I know he lives, but if I hadn't have known the outcome, it's like, okay, it's going to be over with right here.
Yeah, I didn't. Like I said, the phone rang behind me with his bodyguards and handed me the phone because they kidnapped me in a parking lot, threw it over my head, threw me in a van, and took me to the airport. Because they go up higher too to get a better phone signal, I guess, and plus to scare me, to throw me out of the plane and get rid of me, and over the Gulf of Mexico, about 4,000 feet, whatever it was. So the phone rings behind me, and I'm already scared to death anyway. I couldn't hardly breathe, because the hood was over my head. I'm scared to death, and because we're responsible for it. And the Colombians cut off all contact with us, so I knew that something was going to happen, because they were pissed off. We were responsible for their load, and we couldn't find where it was at, because the feds were in on ripping it off to get the cartels. So the phone rings behind me, and I answer the phone. He goes, "Hey, this is, he goes, this is Pablo Escabar. Do you know who I am?" I said, "No, I don't know who you are." I said, "I've heard some of the Cuban guys, Juan and those guys, talking about you in Miami. I don't know." He goes, "Well, I own the load. I'm part owner of that load that you and your partner ripped off. I'm going to kill you, torture you, and then kill you, then go after your partner, torture and kill him." And then the phone went dead. And they opened the plane door, told me to stick my feet, get by the plane door, stick my feet out the door. I said, a gun in the back of my head. I said, "Where's the load? I'm going to ask you one more time, you're going swimming." And then I said, "I can get it. I can get the load back. I'll get it back." And they pulled me back in the van. I didn't really care. I didn't know who he was. I just wanted that plane to land back at the airport with me in it safely.
How did you end up in prison? And we'll pick up the story there where you're bloodied and life sort of changed for you. It's like, okay, I can't do this. My mother is here. This is putting everybody through this. I'm going to change things. How did you end up finally getting caught and ended up going to prison?
They were watching us. We got involved with that Miami gang, and they were watching us for about 2 or 3 years. Had us under surveillance, and then we're at the wrong place at the wrong time with that load, working with that Miami gang. They were already under surveillance for years because they were trying to get to Pablo Escabar, his cartels over there, and they wanted the Miami gang in Miami. And we just happened to start working with these guys because that first 10,000-pound load I was on the boat with the brother-in-law. That was the brother-in-law of one of the owners in Miami, the main guy, Juan, that's the character in the book. I got their load in, and they knew that I knew the area, and I was a young white kid, and they could make a lot of money with me because I knew all the areas down here. I knew all the holes. I knew how to get the loads in the shore, and I proved it when I got that load in the shore because the tide went out, and the mangroves, it was real low in there, and those boats couldn't get in there. And the guys that were on that load and those small boats didn't know the area. And they didn't know where the deeper holes were at, getting the boats up the shore to put the pot in the back of the truck. So I did that for them, and that's how they invited me to Miami. Next thing you know, I'm sitting over there in a big mansion over there, and it looked like a bank vault. And that's when I met Juan, the main guy. And that's how he started wanting me to start bringing in 30,000-pound loads for him. And that's how the Westcoast Kid name came about. I was the kid from the West Coast of Florida, and that's what they named me, the Westcoast Kid.
The book is called The Westcoast Kid, My Redemption. Travis Waters, our guest on the program. His website, thewestcoastkid.com. Our initial interview with Travis is on the website. Information there in the book. The book's available all across the country, maybe coming to a movie theater near you at some point. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's go back and how it all ends. You're in prison. You actually wake up chained to a bed in a hospital. You're bloodied. Was that the point where it's like, okay, my mom thinks I'm dead. I really need to turn my life around here?
Yes, I went from federal prison to state prison because I had a cocaine trafficking charge up north, and in the state of Florida, and then the federal case was federal prison for the smuggling of the marijuana. So I had two counts, two different separate cases. And then I go from federal to state because my state sentence was running concurrent with my federal sentence. So I had to go to serve a state cocaine trafficking charge. end up there. I was supposed to be going to a work camp, but the federal government, and so I look back at it today and see that they had it out for me because I lied about my family up north. I wouldn't tell them my family. So I ended up in Rayford, Florida, and that's where a lot of the gangs and stuff started beating me. If I didn't play for their gangs and win money for their gangs, and next thing you know, I wake up to a bed. A public hospital, actually, chained to a bed, and blood covered in blood, naked, chained to a bed with armed guards in my room. I didn't know who I was at the time because I had a head injury, and they brought me my ID. Finally, the guards did, or the nurse did, this calm me down and said, "Hey, this is who you are. You're Travis." When the guard come in and said, "Hey, you're Travis Waters. You're a drug kingpin out of South Florida, and you were sent to a maximum security prison for smuggling." I started screaming, and the next thing you know, I blacked out, and then I woke up in a prison hospital. Yes.
The book is called The Westcoast Kid, My Redemption. Travis Waters, our guest in the program, thewestcoastkid.com. You decided when you got out, okay, I'm going to turn my life around. It's interesting you said something there is Travis Waters, drug kingpin. I mean, was that shocking to hear that? I mean, did you ever consider yourself to be a drug kingpin?
I didn't believe it because I didn't even know who I was in the public hospital. I didn't believe. I thought they had somebody else because I was wanting to go home. I said, I don't know. I thought I was some part of some bad experiment or something. I didn't know what was going on, and I just then my memory started coming back to me when I was at the state prison hospital, and.
How difficult a decision was it to not get back into that life? I'm not only going to turn my life around, I'm going to take the experiences I've been through, share them with younger people who may be attracted to that lifestyle.
When I came home, newspaper articles did some stories on my life, the local newspaper articles about me and my coach Stewart and me becoming the school's, my coach calling me the school's first great player, and I still hold the records and all that. And that's when the publishing company started calling me to do a tell-all book, and that's when I said I could get my message out there because at one of my beatings in prison, I said I was laying in my bed coughing, couldn't hardly cough, crying, upset, just got beaten up by the gang because of sports. And I said, if I make it out of here alive, I'll do everything I can to help kids and let them know what's going to happen to them in real life when they come to prison. The drug business is not all it's cracked up to be, and that's how it started. I got to spread my message, and very, very blessed to be able to do that, to save kids' lives and keep them from going there, and it's working.
It's an amazing story, and I mentioned that maybe coming to a movie theater near you. I know you're in negotiations and in talking about the possibility. Where does that stand right now?
Right now, CBS out of Miami is doing a feature special on me. I just did an 8 or 10 minute interview that aired in September, and they're doing a feature special on me, and it's supposed to air into this November, into this month. And right now, I'm also in January. They're going to start filming a book movie trailer in January on my book and my life.
When you talk to kids, what kind of response do you get? And you have so many people come in. I can remember back in school when people would come in and don't do drugs. Well, that alone doesn't mean a whole lot. But you've got the story, you've got the life. They can actually see what you went through. I would imagine you can really get through to a lot of these kids that a normal counselor off the street would not be able to.
No, because I'm talking to them in person. I go to the schools and visit also. My books in some of the schools, like I said, is the number one read book in high schools. It's the number one read book in treatment centers around the state and around the country. And I go in there, and they can relate to me, with the abusive father that I had, the alcoholic father that would beat my mother and beat us and stuff like that. And a lot of kids tell me they go through that. And then in the peer pressure of the drug business, a lot of these kids in low-income housing areas and stuff like that go through it with their parents or with their peers, not listening to their parents, and they are influenced like I was, and they can relate to that. So I wrote that story from the beginning to the end so they could see it all, because I couldn't write that book as a textbook. I wanted to write it my way. I did it my way, and that's what I did, because I wanted them to see from the beginning, because I want to glamorize it. You're going to have all that money. You're going to have all the money, or all the toys. You're going to have the beautiful women. You're going to have that beautiful life that you think is so glamorous. But even in the drug business, you're going to be subject to being killed. You're going to OD on drugs. You're going to be killed from a drug deal gone bad. And then you're going to go through all the prison nightmares. And you're going to end up in prison the rest of your life, or beaten or raped. And that's what's going to happen to you. So that's why I wrote like that. And at the end of that book, it's your decision to say, was all that worth it that I went through? Is that worth it? And every one of those kids that you asked that to, is no. They don't want to be nothing like the Westcoast Kid, and that's why I wrote it the way I wrote it.
Well, it's interesting the role that sports played in your life, and the fact that you were denied at that particular point in time without going to summer school, going on to play sports. Well, yeah, and does it bring home to these kids that sports is really, that's where you should put your effort, because it's really something that not everybody's going to go on to play professional sports, that type of thing, but it's an outlet. It gives you hope. It gives you a purpose.
Yeah, I tell them all that. They know all that from the book, and a lot of those, and believe it or not, a lot of people that I was in prison with, I tell these kids this too, that a lot of those kids that had talent just like I did, and they made the wrong choices. It's out there, and these kids need to learn from the examples and me to inspire them to not be like me and to have their lives. That's why I coach now. I coach 10 and 12-year-old kids right now. And, I try to keep them on the right track. Some of them are troubled kids, and they all know my story. Some of them have read my story. There's 11, 12-year-old kids that's read my story.
It's interesting. And I know you come across a lot of parents when you're out dealing with the kids and talking to parents as well. Sometimes parents feel like I'm intimidated. I'm really not sure what I'm going to be able to say to my kids. It's a decision pretty much they're going to make because of peer pressure. What do you say to the parents so they can keep their kids going in the right direction?
I tell them to be honest with their kids, tell them that they love them and they understand, and let them know the warning signs of it. Let them know that when they see their friends with new cars and money and jewelry and they think that that's a fun life, explain to them what's going on, what's really going to happen to them in reality. After everything's gone, all their friends are gone, and they're sitting in a juvenile detention center or a youth ranch somewhere. There's no positives that's going to come from drugs, and I just tell them to be honest with them. You can't tell the kids, you can't be mad at the kids and yell at the kids, because all it's going to do is make them rebel against you even more. And kids tell me that.
You say the word honesty. Is that what really gives you the credibility? I mean, you talk about the younger age and the abusive relationships with father and father figures that you went through. The fact that, the gang thing for a while, the drug thing, that was big money. I mean, you're very honest about everything. Is that what gives you credibility in talking with these kids? Because it's like, the guy's not giving us a line here. This is actually his life.
No, this is what's going to happen to you. It's honest as I can be. I didn't sugarcoat that book because I couldn't sugarcoat that book, because I wish I would have read books like that before I started doing stuff like that. I want to see in detail, and here's an all-American kid, great family. My father had a big business. It happens. The drugs everywhere. It happens to anyone. And you making that one wrong decision, it's going to affect your life for the rest of your life. I can't vote. I can't carry a gun. If I hunted, I don't hunt. But if I did, I couldn't do that. For the rest of your life, you will be affected. I have nightmares from the past. I wake up hitting the walls like I'm getting beaten or raped or getting thrown out of the planes, getting tortured, electrocuted in warehouses. That never goes away. There's no medication on the planet they can give you or help you. Therapy can help you get over that. I have nightmares of the past of my mother shooting my father and me seeing that. And I tell the kids that you just move on and you keep treading along and keep moving forward. But you'll be punished for the rest of your life when you make those wrong decisions.
Travis Waters has been our guest once again on This Week in America, and we will have him back along the journey, and hopefully this will turn into a motion picture and touch even more people around the country. The book is called The Westcoast Kid, My Redemption. It's must-reading in a number of schools in Florida. His website is thewestcoastkid.com. The book is available all across the country. Information at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Travis, continued good luck. Best wishes with everything you've got coming up here in the next couple of months. We will stay in touch, and thank you for sharing once again the story in the program.
And helping me spread my message. I really appreciate that.
It's our pleasure. Travis Waters has been our guest on This Week in America. Thank you for listening. This Week in America, part of the Blue Funk Broadcasting Radio Network.
You're listening to This Week in America with Ric Bratton. More after this.